right, and I'm going to call to order the Raymore Park Board meeting for Tuesday, June 27th, 2017. I need a roll call, please.
Member Castleman.
Present.
Member Eastwood.
Present.
Member Harris.
Present.
Member Heath.
Present.
Member Howdy Show.
Present.
Member Seamers.
Present.
Member Troutman.
Present.
Chairman Manson.
Present. All rise.
Member Sapola is absent.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. All rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we don't have any personal appearances. At this time, I'll entertain, we have the acceptance of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I move to accept the minutes for the May 23rd, 2017 meeting.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Are there any modifications or changes that need to be made to the minutes at this time? All right, as they stand, I'll ask for a vote of approval. All those in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. Committee reports. We have, I believe, only the Budget Committee from June 13th. Director Mustine.
Thank you, sir. We did provide notes in the miscellaneous section of the packet from the Budget Committee meeting. Essentially, just a quick overview. Staff presented those members present with a proposed zero balance budget with an expansion item that included the park master plan as discussed in a previous work session that we had. This particular budget, we went line by line, answered some questions. There were no major changes, and this particular budget was proposed to the city manager and is now in his office waiting on his critiques and his changes if there need to be any. So that's the synopsis of the committee meeting.
Any questions for the director? All right, thank you, sir. All right, there were no Recreation Committee meetings, no Grounds Committee meetings. Staff reports. Director Mustine.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on Mr. McLean to provide a recreation report.
Thank you, sir. I've submitted a report for the month of June in your packet. I'd like to highlight a few things. First thing, under administrative operations, we've been working on our rec track system. We had a training, additional training day for that in getting all the facility rental options available for Centerview. So we've been working through those and started working on booking the facility over the last couple weeks since we've moved in. And we're still working with how the system is operating with the rentals, but everything is moving forward. Also want to highlight with the rentals, we had Grand Slam baseball tournaments this month. There is I would like to make an adjustment on the weekend of June 16th, the Grand Slam baseball tournament. I put 25 teams, that was my estimation. I hadn't received final count from the tournament director at the time of the report. He actually responded back that there was 30, so it was the biggest tournament we have hosted with Grand Slam, so it was exciting. Very busy weekend. I want to give credit to Steve's crew. We had some rain that weekend and the guys were up early. We were only a half hour behind schedule due to the rain overnight on Saturday night, so they did a great job. Also, this last weekend we had the Heart of America senior softball tournament. There were 20 teams in that, so they were playing Thursday through Sunday. It was another a well-received tournament. That tournament we've hosted now for 3 years, and they really enjoyed the amenities and the upgrades, especially the shade structures. So we heard a lot of good reviews. Then a lot of what this last week, 2 weeks of the month have been is, of course, preparation for this Saturday Spirit of America celebration, getting everything ready on our end, as in the event prep and the food trucks and getting everything ready to go. So 4 o'clock Saturday, everything will be in full swing. We also have a movie night at TV Hannah on the 28th of July coming up, and that will be the Lego Batman movie. Wanted to highlight that. It'll be held at TV Hannah. And then with sports, the Recreation Baseball and Softball League should be wrapping up this week, weather pending. And then we had what I would consider a good tryout session this year. We had over 60 participants, which was over double the participation we had last year for Raymore United. So we're looking at expanding teams. Currently, coaches are gathering uniform orders and things to that nature. So at this time, I would be glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you, sir. Director Mustine.
I'll call on Mr. Rulo for a parks report.
Thank you. I also submitted a written report for you all. Just wanted to hit on a couple key items here. I'm not sure if any of y'all have been up to Memorial Park lately, but our staff did step out of the box a little bit for what we're used to, and we painted the parking lot lines. They turned out very well, so this is something we'll probably start doing by ourselves, save a little money throughout the years. This week, staff has already started prepping for this weekend for the Spirit of America celebration. Hope all y'all can come out Saturday. Come out at noon if you'd like. We'll be there. So, and the last thing, I'd just like to thank all the board members who attended the Arbor Day celebration and participated in the picture. Really appreciate that. This is probably the first year that we had more than 3 people in the picture, so definitely appreciated. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Brian.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment on the parking lot. I did drive by it literally just now on the way here. It looks awesome. I know I'm in tennis, and people parked all over the place. You drive right in, there's a lane, you can get in, you get out. It's very clean, it's crisp. And I believe it was last month, and I just want to double check, you were looking at getting templates for the arrows?
We have not got them yet,
Okay.
but that still is in the process.
Because obviously they're a little faded, but without templates, they wouldn't get painted. But,
Correct.
But, you know, it all makes sense. You can see which way to go and head in. They're all one lanes in and out, but it looks awesome. It's a very good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Director Mustine.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple quick notes. Recently this month, a couple weeks ago, and then this past Friday, Mr. McLean attended the Raymore Procure Sunrise Optimist Club and received a donation of $250 towards the Spirit of America celebration this weekend. And Coordinator Keith applied for a grant through Walmart during their grand opening. If you haven't been there, they've remodeled the store, and there was a grand opening. And they selected the Parks Department and donated $500 toward this weekend's event as well. So I attended the grand opening and received that. So we're very appreciative of those community efforts and support. Couple other things. We are wrapping up enrollment for the athletic coordinator position. The job opening will come to an end. We're reviewing applications, and we hope to be interviewing basically a week from today, or 2 weeks from today, I'm sorry. So hopefully we'll have that excuse me, taken care of, but we're pleased with the applicants that we've looked at so far, but there's still a couple more days left to get those. And like Steve said, just thank you guys that came to the ribbon cutting and the Arbor Day event. It was very well attended, and it was just a good event. And we invite you guys to come down at any time to the offices, and we'll give you a tour if you haven't had it. Just show you around. It's a excellent facility, and I apologize for no work session tonight because we actually have an event going on down there, so we were preparing for that. And so the facility is just great, and I really encourage you to come down and check it out. And then I want to read a couple notes here. one of our site supervisors, Dave Kappelman, some of you may know him. He's been a long-term employee, somebody I hired years and years ago. He runs our baseball tournaments, concessions and stuff, and over the past couple weekends, we've had, like John said, the large baseball tournament, and then we had the Heart of America senior softball tournament. And Dave's a pretty friendly guy, so the folks tend to talk to him quite a bit, and he took some notes for us. But first and foremost, the shade structures are just a huge hit. The baseball families, the moms, they just can't tell us enough how much they appreciate that, not just from the sun, but the protection of foul balls and just the aesthetics of the complex. They're just very pleased with that. The unique comments came from the senior softball tournament. As you can imagine, when you have those guys, their wives usually travel with them. So those ladies walk the trail when the games aren't going on and just rave about the way the trail looks, the disc golf course, the fort, all the unique features that Rec Park has. And they've been coming year after year and have made note specifically to say that every year they come, the park looks better, or there's another improvement, or something different is going on, and it's their favorite facility to come and play. They look forward to this particular tournament every year, and they just wanted they wanted to pass that along so that we could tell you guys. So it was just good comments, and they're very pleased, and they thank you for the hard work that has been going on. And just a reminder again, the Spirit of America, the car show, food trucks all begin at 4 o'clock this Saturday at Recreation Park, and then the band begins at 7. So we hope to see everybody there. Let us know if you're coming. We'll be parking cars and working, so probably won't get a whole lot of time to sit and socialize with you because we got a job to do, but we want you to be there. So this is our event for you guys, so we ask that you come. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for the director? All right, thank you, sir. All right, there's no old business. Under new business, we have item B. This is an action item. What happened to A?
I'll explain.
New alphabet. All right, item B.
So we'll begin with item B because Google does not like going in alphabetical order, beginning at the beginning.
Okay.
So item B is on the agenda, but if you look on your actual agenda report, it is listed as item A, just to make things more confusing. So this project, or this particular item, is our park maintenance facility fencing. Just a little background, if you'll remember, last year, the NPR, which is our city's insurance company, they did a safety audit, which they do typically on an annual basis. One of the things they targeted last year was just safety improvements, and they identified our maintenance shop as one of the areas that needed some improvement as far as safety. Most of you have been there. You know that our work yard is just open, and we recognize that that has always been an issue, but it's been an expensive issue. Not to mention, we just need some improvements from a apron as for parking and just to get the facility up to speed. In the capital improvement projects this year under the general fund, this would be Fund 25, the city, the council designated $50,000 towards improvements. Number one being fencing of the yard, and then a second portion of that project, which would be to replace the approach where the concrete is for the bay, where Steve and the guys pull the trucks in and work on things. That's eroded and it's just breaking apart. So that $50,000 is designated in 2 different projects, and you'll see both of those tonight. This particular one we want to talk about is the fencing. I've included a map in your packet kind of showing what we're outlining. The first portion of this is to put the fence in. It's a 6 foot tall black vinyl fence, so it'll match the chain link that's on the baseball diamonds. But this fencing will also have a black vinyl slats that go in the chain link and make it a little more private. It'd be hard to see in there. It'll have 2 gates. The red lines on your map indicate the gates so that we can pull straight through. And
Excuse me, sir. Did anybody else not get a map? Nobody else got a
did it
map?
not come in your packet?
No, sir.
Pass that. I apologize. It must not have linked in.
Now we get to pass that around then.
My finger.
It's pretty self-explanatory. The fence will go around the workyard. And then, so that's the first portion. Over the next couple of years, what we will do internally is clean that out, make some bays, and just make that a more usable area. It'll help us in terms of what we can leave outside, also allow us to leave some equipment outside, because frankly, just being open like that, it tends to have kids in the neighborhood just playing, because there's a lot of cool stuff to play on out there. So this will just a little more protection for them. So we submitted this for open bids. We had 2, I believe, at the pre-bid, and we did receive 1 bid. In asking and researching that, frankly, it's just the market's kind of saturated. There's a lot of work going on, and that was the reason why the one who did our baseball fences admitted, he goes, I'm too busy. I couldn't give it to you guys. So we got the 1 bid. We checked the references. Everything is legit. They're a good company, easy to work with. We actually negotiated a price down to fit within the budget so that we could afford the concrete portion of that. And with that negotiated price included a mow strip that was not included in the bid. It was an alternate bid. So these guys have been very easy to work with, very professional, and we have no hesitation about moving forward. So with that being said, staff recommends that we move towards a contract recommendation to the city council in the amount of $39,000 for the fencing of the park maintenance shop. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions? Sheldon?
Nathan, since there's a safety issue there, has there been any discussion between the city and the insurance company about whether the city will get a benefit from reducing a risk in that area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as they go through those punch list items, they do receive credit
Oh, okay.
in the long term. I don't have the specifics of that.
The idea is being looked at.
Yes, I would say more importantly is that this is not a deduction or a knock on our
Right.
approval, more than a credit towards,
Okay.
good things.
Yeah, as we have more activities, as you mentioned, more children being in the area.
Yes.
And the attractive nuisance aspect of the
Yes,
whole maintenance function.
Yes, sir. It will improve the aesthetics of the park along with the safety factor. It was rated high on the audit as one of the top priorities to redeem, which is why it was moved up to this fiscal year as opposed to programmed in the 5-year plan.
Got it.
Any other questions? Eric?
Is there any thoughts about extending that fence all the way around? I mean, it sort of is in the front, it's not there, but it's just, it seems like it's in the back. Has there been discussions about extending that fence all the way to the, which side is that, the south?
Yeah, if I can talk on that. Years ago, when we first started talking about I think we used to call it a compound, we wanted to start up closer to the house. Very expensive. When the insurance company came in, it was basically that area, so we wanted to get that area taken care of pretty quickly. What we have started doing with those boulders like we bought down at baseball, we bought some extras, and they're actually lining our entrance into our offices there. So we're going to put a gate up just past the house. Those boulders will be lining the I want to call say the south side of that parking lot, so right by number 6 tee box. So vehicles won't be able to drive in there and get in the parking lot. Sometime down the future, we'll probably come back for a CIP plan and take it all the way around the buildings and up to the gate, though.
That's where I was sort of heading, is maybe this phase 1 of this project.
You could probably call it phase 1, because we did have it this is 4 years ago when we started thinking about this.
Okay, thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, 2 questions. One, the 39,000 includes the mow strip concrete, right? Includes the alternate. So the 11,000 will go to another project. It's not, that 11,000 isn't going to another project for the mow strip. The 39,000 includes the mow strip.
That is correct. The 11,000 will go towards the concrete approach,
Okay.
which we'll see it later.
And the other question, looking at that map, the red lines constitute a gate, right? On the north half of that building, between the landscaping wall and the building, there was another small red line. Is that a small walk-through gate?
Yes, sir. It's a
The-
10-foot gate that we could back in trailers and anything back in behind the building.
So that thing's not to scale? Because that line was itty-bitty compared to the 12-foot gate.
Not to scale.
Oh, okay, okay. That was all, it was just throwing me off. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? All right, in that case, at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Brian?
I move we recommend this project and send a recommendation to City Council to enter into a contract with AmeriFence for the installation of the safety fence and mow strip for the price of $39,000.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, in that case, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item C, not B, is concrete improvement projects. This is also an action item. Director Musting.
Thank you, sir. This is the second portion of the project I just talked about. There are two parts. If you'll remember, back in early spring, we went to bid on some concrete improvements at Memorial Park, the ADA improvements around the baseball fields, and we bid that project out with the overall trail. The project itself and the combined bid of concrete and asphalt was way over budget. We rejected those bids and we started over. What we found out was between our projects and Public Works, there was a lot of concrete work going on that were representative of parks. And so to line that out for you, Public Works under Fund 25 is doing the angled in parking at TB Hanna Station as part of the contract for purchasing that property from the church. That is directly related to our park as it's park property right there. So they're in charge of that. This particular project at the parks office or the park maintenance shop is the bay. That is also Fund 25 through general fund. Public Works will be managing that portion because it's under their funds. However, we have the ADA access at Memorial Park, which is park funds in a park. So it just made sense to combine some of these projects to see if we could get a better price in bulk on concrete itself. What we found is that we did in fact do that. So tonight it's a little unique, and it's the first time we've really done something like this where we have different funds from different sources coming together to write a contract. So although you are not approving the TB Hanna portion on Maple Street, we are asking for approval for the park maintenance facility because that is on park land that we are under control of, and also the ADA access at Memorial Park, which is actually your funding. So what we need to do is our portion of this, approving this contract so that we can move forward and Public Works can take it to council and we can solidify a contract and move forward with all of these projects throughout the summer. So tonight, I know that it sounds confusing, but what we're asking for is an approval of Orr Construction, which was the low bidder for all of the combined contracts, projects. Specifically, what you are approving is the ADA access and the park maintenance bay approach. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions? All right. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I got a question, and maybe it's just me and just my thinking, but you're requesting we approve to move forward with the lowest bidder, but if there's a problem, just the next best lowest bidder. I guess a couple of just thoughts come to mind. We only see one bid here. We don't see any other bids that are available to us, so we don't really know what kind of budget impact. Obviously, it's below budget. But that's the total budget amount, not just our budgeted amount. So I guess I hesitate a little bit to just say, yeah, just move by with whichever you guys pick. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I do understand that.
Yeah.
it seems a little odd.
It's different.
I will say, this was at the request of the Public Works Director, because they are still checking references on these, which is why we asked for, if the references don't come out what we would prefer, that we can move forward and not delay the process, because that would.
Is it only because our meeting's now, and
Yes,
we
sir.
don't meet for another month?
Yes, sir.
And
It will
okay.
delay the entire project 8 total weeks.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
with that being said, it is also at your discretion to make that decision. And I will say that there were 4 bidders, and the 3 lowest were all under budget over the total project, so none would have any impact financially on us, that within a range of $1,500 or so.
Ryan?
Yep. I move, staff moves forward with the low bidder, and assuming reference checks, something doesn't come back, then they can move on to the best lowest bidder.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, motion's been made and second to request staff to move forward on this apparent low bidder. All those in favor, any discussion? Yes?
Calling on me, I'm like, I got a question. Did I understand you correctly then that you said there's only a $1,500 difference in the lowest and the best lowest? Or do
No.
we know what that next one is?
We do know what that next one is. It's not, we can't, because we're still in negotiations with the low bidder. Right now, what we're doing is we're recommending the apparent low bidder. What I'm saying is our particular project on the ADA access, that we, within our funding, there's only a $1,500, $2,000 difference between the
Oh, on
apparent low bidder.
Our end.
Yes, on our end.
Okay.
Which is why I'm very comfortable with making this recommendation to move forward. The negotiation parts would be on the projects that are within the Public Works Department.
And let me clarify this, if anybody ever listens. That doesn't mean Orr Construction isn't the best and the lowest bidder, right? We're just doing reference checks on the best part. We know they're the lowest bidder. We're
They
doing
are the
reference checks on
apparent low
best.
bidder.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
And also, this stays within the budget that we have set aside for it.
Yes, sir. I would like to add one thing. Because the funding was in our favor, we added a spectator platform for the tennis courts to place the bleachers and a ADA sidewalk along the tennis court. Because of the funding we put that in as an alternate bid, and we've accepted that as an alternate. And we are well within budget, and the remaining funds will go towards approaches when we do the trail later this year.
Yeah, I noticed that in the packet. Thank you. All right, the motion has already been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion or questions? In that case, all those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Next item on the agenda is D. This is a budget amendment for Memorial Park concessions. It's also an action item. Director Mustine.
Thank you, sir. I'll give a brief summary of what this is, and then if there's any specific questions, I'll ask Mr. Rulo to take over some of the specifics. Essentially, what we have is the exhaust fan at the Memorial Park concession stand building, which, although it's not air conditioned in there, that exhaust fan is critical as far as keeping the temperatures down on the inside. We noticed some damage, just some failure in that particular unit last fall. We had it checked, and it was destined to die. And so this year, basically, it limped along until it eventually failed. We have a quote that we got last year that I've included in your packet. We did contact them. That price is still sufficient. However, I would say that we are in the process of gaining 3 quotes, so we know that we have to get a 3 quote for that particular job. But what we do know is that the quote we've gotten is a good number, so our 3 quotes will either be below, which is good, or this will end up being our low quote because the others will be higher and we can move forward with the work. But this is something that's critical to do. Unfortunately, we had to wait till baseball season was over because we were using the facility, and it's really going to just put that out of commission for a few days. And I submitted also, I hope, there should be a picture in there, your packet. I will show the audience and you guys, there's a picture here of a temperature gauge. We were averaging 98 degrees inside the facility for well over 2 weeks when it was during that hot spell. So it's something that really needs to be taken care of. And so tonight what we're doing is asking for a budget amendment from our fund balance to move forward. That way, once the quotes are in, we can go ahead and get that taken care of for the hot part of the summer. And with that, either myself or Mr. Rulo can answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Melinda?
So if it's 5350, why are we requesting 6,000 then? If we know we're not going to spend more than that?
It's what was budgeted.
So we're just gonna, we know that it's not going to be more than that, but we're still going to approve that, 6,000.
We know it will not exceed $6,000. The issue we're having is the unit itself is dead. When they went in to see if we could just replace pieces, how can I put this? When it was originally put in, it was not put in so you could work on it. So it was either bust a hole in one of the walls or to replace the same unit, or pull it out, get a different unit to put it in there to where we can repair this and maintain it on a regular basis. We added just a little bit extra, so when they get in there, it's a very tight room as it is. It's over a bunch of plumbing that goes to both restrooms. If something should happen to where we got to restructure something, we just put a little bit in there in case we have to do that. So a contingency, so to speak, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Brian?
The one question I have is on the timing. With baseball ending in 2 days, is it better to just wait for the 3 bids and see what comes back? I mean, we can go ahead and prove it now and then see what comes back, and that be that. But again, this is my philosophical standpoint. Shouldn't we just do it proper and wait for the 3 bids? I mean, I'm trying to think. The only thing I know that happens after that is Festival in the Park, but that's not till September, right?
That is correct, but with the timing, we want to make sure I don't know what their workload is. We want to get, because this is going to have to go through council, so that's at least a month out to get out of there. Then we got to get with them to get them in, do all the work. Definitely needs to be up by September. I'm not sure what that date is, but yeah. We could, if you want, but that's going to slow the process down. Again, we'll have to come back next month, come through with the low bidder. We know it's not going to exceed, I mean, that's the way we're writing the contract. It will not, or this will not exceed $6,000 because we already have one bid. So.
If we delay, we'll probably end up in the hottest part of the months. It's going to make it difficult to work in that facility, right?
Yes, sir. If I could add, it just expedites the process a little faster so that we can get this project done, is what it does.
Any other questions? Brian?
I move we make a budget amendment of $6,000 from Park Fund 25 to replace the exhaust fan at the Memorial Park concession stand.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve this budget amendment for $6,000. Any discussion? All right, as there is none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Next up is the board elections. At this time, I'll call for nominations for board chair. Sheldon.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend and nominate our current chairman and vice chairman as a slate and recommend vote by acclamation.
All right. Which is unusual, but since the slate, he's calling for a slate of both current positions to be retained, I'm going to have to, is there any discussion on that? Right, he's calling for affirmation, so I'm going to look to the board to vote at this time to, if they're in favor of that, to vote by raising your hand.
Wait a minute.
What it is he's calling for a slate, which means that both Brian and myself in our current positions would be retained in those same positions for the following year.
But is this a vote to vote that in or a vote to vote on it?
No, he's asking for affirmation, which means that if you raise your hand and approve, it's a vote.
There's still going to be other nominations. Doesn't close nominations.
That's right.
Doesn't close nominations.
If there's not anyone, if you want to retain that as he presented it, you can do so. If there's not enough votes, then we go on to nominations, continue with nominations. But he's calling for an affirmation right now, just if everyone wants to retain the same people. That's why since he called for an affirmation, that's why I'm asking for votes. If not, we'll continue with nomination procedures, protocol on that. So again, all those in favor of the slate as presented by Member Castleman? All right, we have 6. All those opposed? 6-3. Now, pardon me. I'm gonna have to recount 5-3. All right. Under that, there's no further need for nominations for board chair or vice chair. Brian?
Oh, well, then I'm going to decline vice chair.
Okay. That's your prerogative. If you're declining that, then the position for vice chair is open. I'll entertain nominations for that. Anyone want to be vice chair? Interesting. All right. If, Jenny, I guess you have a puzzled look. Okay, what's happened? I'll recap this quickly.
No, I understand that.
Right.
I'm just waiting to hear from the people who opposed what
All right,
they're looking for.
that's the question. Brian?
I'm looking for more communication. I've been vice chair for 2 years now. I have not had one single bit of communication. That was one of our mandates we gave the director last year. He's fulfilled his duties on bringing in his quarterly improvements, but I don't think beyond that communications has improved the way it has. I certainly haven't had any communications with my fellow chairman. No offense to Mr. Bill, I love him to death, but as a vice chairman, I haven't had any communications, in any regards to any of this information before the meeting. I get it at the same time everybody else, and I don't think the chairman or the vice chair, now, I say this, the chairman may be well more in tune with what's going on, but I am not, and that being a vice chair really means nothing at this point, except when he wants to take a vacation, you got to run a meeting. But yeah, that's why, I guess. Not happy, I'll say that. One of the other things that does make me happy, we had our budget meeting last month, and our budget chairman wasn't even there, wasn't even available for the meeting. So who's running the show? That somebody doesn't, never mind.
Thank you.
Melinda?
Since Brian brought that up, that's correct. I was not, on both meetings, I was not consulted if I was available on either one of them. So I've spent a whole year being the chairperson, but have never been consulted on a meeting. So I've never been able to say, yes, because the last one that we had, my trip was booked for 6 months. So I knew I was not available. But I was told when the meeting was, and I was not able to be there, so I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm not moving my trip, but I could have moved the meeting time so I could be there. But it was never communicated by anyone to me when I was expected to be at the meeting or if I was available for the meeting.
All right, in response to that, the chair has the right to call a meeting when they want to. The budget chair can call a meeting. Number 2, you can establish a time difference if you want. if there is a call from the director or staff for a budget meeting, and you feel that that's not advantageous, you can always respond to that by asking for a change in venue, or change in times or dates if you need to. Nothing's written in stone. The reason we set up the second Tuesday is that's always available. And basically, you have that, if you find that Tuesday's not there and we don't have any other meeting scheduled, for example, Recreation may not have use for its in rotation for that next Tuesday or next month, you could call for a budget then. There is some autonomy. That's why the budget chair has that power. They can change up things if they need to.
Right, but I was not told, or it was not, I mean, it was announced at our work session that that's when it was. There was no discussion, and when I accepted the position, I was told, hey, I'm gonna need a little hand-holding in this. I haven't done this before, but there was no hand-holding, it was just taken over and done. So there was no teaching that was involved, and so that's why I'm like, well, I don't wanna, I don't wanna do it anymore. I haven't been taught anything, or haven't been in, I haven't learned anything on it. I've done it for a year, but it's only in name only.
Well, budget chair is basically, I'll be honest with you, I doubt if the chair has that much to say or input in those meetings. It's mostly staff informing us what the positions are, what the needs are. So it's what the chair is basically responsible for is establishing those, cementing the times and the dates, and then calling the meeting and holding them and calling it the session. Other than that, most of the time, that's going to be handled by the staff. The director is going to be one presenting the budget, not us. We have approval of it, but that's basically what those positions are.
Well, I was under the assumption at least there would be some kind of communication before a meeting, one, on availability, and two, on that there would be some, communication of what that budget would look like, and you would have, as a chairperson, would go over that with, Director Mustine. I apparently was incorrect, but that was my understanding. Again, there was no hand-holding, so there was no, this is really what I actually was told that there's, really not much, don't worry about it, there's not really much you're gonna do, so.
Well,
So a little frustration on my part on, again, just being told, here's the deal. It was like, that's funny, because here we go again, second meeting, and I'm unavailable. So, and I raised the objection, but it wasn't heard.
well, the thing too is sometimes those meetings have to be had when the staff has to have some input at certain times, and it may not be convenient. Yes, that falls to us sometimes not being available. But as long as we have enough people present at those meetings, specifically the budget meeting, we should be able to give enough input there. And the board can handle it from that point once it's presented to them in entirety. I don't know if I lost anybody on that explanation. Michelle?
Have these concerns been brought up before tonight?
Just on my behalf, just at that work session when I was like, here we go again, I planned on bringing up this evening. This is our first time back since, the budget meeting. And
But have you called Mr. Manson or Mr. Mustine and voiced any of
no,
this
but I
before
wasn't also
tonight?
necessarily planning on bringing it up this evening. I didn't bring it up, so.
Well, just my point is, I don't like the accusatory and the kind of back and forth. We're a team, we work as a team. If there's an issue or a problem, can we bring it up before we get on the Diaz and look like this? Because we knew that budget meeting was going to happen. Because the night that Mr. Mustine said it's on Tuesday nights, I can't change my schedule for your travel schedule, you knew that night.
I did, and that's why I let it roll out.
Well, then why are we bringing it up now?
Because I didn't bring it up. I was just explaining myself and saying this is where, my frustration, this is why I was frustrated.
But it wasn't communicated to anybody before now.
No, but I had planned on bringing it up tonight just in work session, although we didn't have one, or afterwards, and then now it was brought up now, so.
The question was asked. That's why it was answered. The question was asked of us, of me.
All right, Eric?
Brian has a lot of good points. I barely see what's happening within what's going on in the agenda. I don't see, and he doesn't know any more than what we as individual board members know, what's going on. So I wonder, are you leading the board, or is the staff leading you to lead us? And we've had that issue before with previous directors where the directors would lead the board and direct us exactly what happens in the agenda. We don't have any discussion about what sort of things, hey, what should we talk about this month? What should we talk about the next 2 months? It's them telling us, this is what we're doing this month, and then we respond to it. We're not leading them towards any sort of direction. We're just responding to them. And it's been that way for the last couple of years. That's sort of my objection.
Anyone else have input? When you ask me if who's leading who, it's not, I don't lead staff, and staff's not leading the board. The whole idea is that we work in unison. The thing about it is we are policymakers. We're basically policymakers, Eric. We're not involved in the staff's running of operations. And we still have that input because we still have, when we do the CIP projects, we bring that up. That's our direction. Wouldn't you say?
When have you ever asked, what should we talk about in the next quarter or the next month or the next meeting? Anybody from the board about what input or what things should be addressed at all, if there are any concerns? I'm not saying that we shouldn't be working well together and that one shouldn't, there shouldn't be, I'm just saying about, communication and about the direction that we're going. I just feel like we're responding to the agenda that's in front of us.
Jenny.
I don't know if I'm going to be wording this correctly, but may I at this time request that we move this topic to a later date and time so that we all have time to discuss it before this?
I believe that probably would be wise. This is something that really would probably be well discussed in a work session among ourselves. And, well, this is more this is discussion, it's not an item.
Seems like we're a board member comments part.
Well, we probably reached that, yes.
Bill?
Yes.
If I may say, I think one thing we should all remember that these agendas are not set in stone. In the beginning of these meetings, we can recommend or request an amendment to the agenda if there's some item that we would like to have discussed on any of these meetings.
That's true.
So if we have something that's dear to us individually, we have not forgiven our opportunity to do that.
Thank you. As it stands now, though, there is still the unanswered question of who or any nomination for the vice chair. Or do we want to table this for the next meeting? We don't have to have that tonight. All right, if there's no nomination for vice chair, then I recommend we table this for the meeting in July. At that time, possibly, we can have a candidate for it. Any motion for that tabling?
I move we table nominations for vice chair till July.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to table this to July meeting for the candidate for vice chair. All those in favor? All right, it's so tabled. There's no public comment tonight. It wasn't unanimous?
No.
All right, I'm sorry.
My hands are down.
All right. All right, we have, Eric, we had two opposed and 7 for. I apologize. Board comment. We'll start with you, Brian. Do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah. I want to say, I know the baseball season's ending up. I want to say thanks to staff, both the rec side for the scheduling and getting all the teams, and ground side for the fields. They look good, worked out really well. That new drainage, although we didn't get a lot of rain this year, I never did see it pull up after that was fixed. Fields always looked good. They were always graded. Lines looked good. So good job this summer. I also want to make sure everybody understands I don't hate anybody up here. I don't want to feel like I'm bagging on anybody. I got my own philosophy on how things work. I'm just expressing those opinions. I love everybody. Thank you. Oh, and the Centerview. Was that last Friday? Is that 2 weeks ago now? Week and a half? It looked awesome. And food was good too. I had quite a bit of cheese and some pineapple, so I appreciate that. If you guys have not been there, not had a chance to go, go visit. Super awesome.
Steve?
No comment at this time.
All right. Melinda?
Looking forward to Saturday for the fireworks. I'm excited to finally be able to go after so many years since we moved it to the Saturday before instead of on actually July 4th, so looking forward to that. And I will kind of follow suit, and I don't have any issues with anybody on the board. I love being on the park board, and I don't believe that we all need to have the same opinion, because if we did, that'd be really boring. So just because we don't necessarily always have the same opinion, that doesn't mean anything on a personality or personal level for me, so.
Eric?
I'm actually going to steal a conversation that Brian and I had at the baseball complex. We were talking about how just the nice the shade structures were, but one of the ideas that came up was it'd be nice to have some other picnic tables in that complex. And we were talking about it. There's not a lot of other seating around there. There's one that's where the refs sit, and then there's the bleachers, but you know, we've got all this nice area where we could set up picnic tables. It might be another thing that we can look in the future to add, maybe for next summer's baseball or even in the fall. But it seemed like a good idea. So,
Thank you. Jim?
I attended the Centerview ribbon cutting. Very nice, the whole event. Beautiful building. I'm very impressed with it. My kids love the whole atmosphere, so I might even be renting it myself here soon. So, let's see, nice job on it.
No
Michelle?
comment tonight.
Nothing? All right. Sheldon?
No comments.
Jenny?
I want to apologize to my fellow board members and to everybody else that I was late tonight. Started a new job, and I was asleep on the couch, and my son says, Mom. So I apologize.
Time to go to school, huh?
Yeah, I apologize for having been late. I wanted to tell Eric, I have a new appreciation for disc golf. My grandchildren had got a little play set and were playing and everything, and that got me thinking, I wonder if there could be a little disc golf area for little kids. But that's just something I'd never played it before or anything, but I just thought that was really neat. And so now I'm going to go try disc golf at our new little place, big park. Anyhow, that's all I had to say, and I apologize again for being late.
Thank you. The thing is, Centerview was excellent. I was there in attendance too. It's a beautiful building. It's a great acquisition for us. As for tonight, if I have been remiss in my duties as far as communication, I apologize for that. That's not something I like to hear, but I'm glad you said it, because it's a needed thing if we're going to really, truly be in communication with each other. The other thing, too, is I hope we have somebody that will just jump up and go seek. I like to see nominations for that vice chair, too, because it's not a wasted position. And Eric pointed out, there's things that he wants to know about the agenda. Well, as Sheldon pointed out, we can make some changes. We can address that at the beginning of a meeting if there's some need, and we can put it on there. That can be, as I said, it's not chiseled in stone. Our work sessions, obviously, we'll try to address more of those issues too. And I want the board involved, and if I fail to do that, that's my duty, to make sure they are involved. They're our stakeholders. then I'm going to try to amend that. That being said, that's my last comment for the evening. Yes, sir. Yes, go ahead.
I apologize, but I did want to tell everybody who's watching us that the fireworks is done a lot different than what we did them last year, so the parking has all changed. So when you're coming down there, please look for the parking attendants. Please follow the parking attendants where they tell you to go. And I hope everybody has a good time. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Thank you. All right. In that case, I'm going to ask for a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion been made and second for adjournment. All those in favor? This meeting is adjourned.
I love your hair.
I love yours.
I did this 2 hours before shift.